Hello, and welcome to Freethought Forum, a program brought to you by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. I'm Sam Geltz.
And I'm Joseph Johnson.
And we're here to tell you that if you're an atheist in East Tennessee, you are not alone. We have a meetup down at Barley's, which is going on right now. It's kind of hard to miss. It's a rather large table. There should be about 30 people down there. Anyone's welcome, whether you're an atheist or a Christian. We just ask that you don't preach, proselytize, provoke, or punch. We are here to talk about the recent rash of Christian movies that have come out.
And the card?
And we have... Okay, I thought we had a caller. Do we have a caller? Okay, we have a caller already.
No.
Oh.
He doesn't have his mic on. And we're also going to talk about the card
That has popped up on Reddit. People have gotten in an uproar over our recent card. But first, you want to talk about the movies?
Oh, no. Well, yeah, movies first. Sounds good.
Okay. First, let's talk about the movie that came out, God Is Not Dead. This movie is, it's more of apologetics. I think that it's trying to educate Christians to stand for their faith against atheists. The atheist in this movie was played by Kevin Sorbo.
Hercules.
Which I think is a little ironic with him playing Hercules.
Having played in.
Because I thought that when I was a child, I think that I came to atheism a little quicker because I had learned about mythology from Kevin Sorbo. So I don't know if he's actually Christian himself or backs these, but he pretty much plays a villain in this movie. It's your stereotypical atheist villain. He's rude, he's in your face, he is a professor of a classroom who demands that his students to get a passing grade in his class, which actually the plot of this movie started from an internet meme where this general story of a professor who did this to a class happened.
A false
premise.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were saying that it's for Christians, but specifically it's for like college age kids who are establishing themselves in the world and for the first time out of their parents' home and their home neighborhood, their religious views are getting attacked.
I think it's also Christians are also worried. Number of Christians dramatically decrease once they're around college age.
Right.
And I think this is a worry that this movie even addresses itself, because Christians are worried they're going to go to college and they are going to meet these evil atheist professors that are going to force them to denounce their beliefs, which never happens. Like, this never happened, this never happens. I think the opposite probably happens more often.
Right. I would imagine a lot of unchristianizing happens at the after-class parties.
Yeah.
More than it does in the classroom.
It's just growing up in general. But, they're away from their parents. They can't watch after them. But
they can watch movies.
But they can force their kids to watch movies, too. Yeah. I think Kevin Sorbo's character forces them to write God is dead on a piece of paper and turn it in. And one of the students, who is a Christian, stands up for his faith. And he is given the task to prove that God is real over 3 days in the classroom.
That seems pretty reasonable.
Well, like any teacher would actually do.
I think
this.
The old way was to burn the person at the stake.
Yeah, I think they were doing that.
Or no, that was the other.
That was the other way around. Yeah, it is. Yeah, we do this now, don't we? The arguments that he puts forth in the movie, we have not seen the movie, by the way. We just want to clarify that. But he puts forth the Big Bang, he talks about evolution and tries to argue for it from a Christian perspective, which, I mean, for a mainstream Christian movie, he still, stands by that the Big Bang came from God and that evolution could have been led by God.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but in the movie, as we've seen in,
it's not like what was it?
In the reviews we read, I know that one specifically, the professor who is this huge atheist professor, huge meaning like on the circuit or in threat and possibility, is shocked by the argument and is taken aback and like questions himself. And is that not what you read as well?
Yeah.
We're getting confirmation from over here.
If any of you out there have seen the movie, feel free to call in and give us your perspectives on it too.
Please call in.
Yeah, please call in. But I think the last part of his argument tackles the questions of evil, which I always thought was the hardest point to argue from an apologetic side. But
do you know what his answer was?
I think it's the typical answer I normally hear is that it's necessary because of free will.
Right. Which is also in that other movie we saw. But we'll get to that.
Okay, yeah. Anything else you want to say about God is not dead?
It's not. Is God is dead not? Or is it God is not dead?
God is not dead.
Oh.
Well, this movie I think has garnered a lot of attention, more attention than the other movies that are on this list.
It's playing up the street.
Yeah, and it's of course church groups have seen this in mass. And I think they do see it as a way
in mass.
in
I'm
mass.
sorry.
To try to educate.
During mass.
They see it as an educational movie because I think it preaches apologetics. Want to move on to the second movie?
What is the second movie?
Heaven is for Real, which is coming out this week.
This is about that kid who died.
I find this movie...
And then came back to life.
Yeah, I find this movie a lot more disturbing than the other movie.
In what way, Sam?
Well, first off, I found the movie's not out yet, so I haven't seen it, but I think the trailer seems laughable from my side of things. Like, even, it's easy to pick apart.
The dad has really big eyes the whole time. He's just in shock.
He's like... The story of it is based on a book, and the book is based on a true story. Well, and it's a child that is sick, was not told that he had a chance of living, and from a miracle comes back and knows things that he shouldn't know. In the trailer, they show that he knows that his mother he had a sister that was stillborn, and he knows what his grandparents will look like. But even in the movie, I think...
So he's reincarnated it as his grandpa?
Not quite. I think even in the movie it seems, or in the trailer it seems silly because his father goes up to the child and is like, "Is this your grandpa?" And he's like, "No." And then like he looks younger and he brings another picture and he's like, "Yes." It's like, "Oh no, I tried to trick you." That's that's my whole point behind this story in general. It's a child that was being led on by his parents, and they've made a lot of money from this. I think that's why this movie disturbs me more than the other ones, because it's
exploitation.
It's exploitation of the child, and who doesn't he did have a near-death experience, I'm sure, and they're trying to make a dime from it. I think that he's been led on by his parents. I mean, the claims of the movie of the book aren't verified.
Well, I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
and I haven't read the book.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry, Sam. But really, what if it was legit and the kid really did know all this stuff, whether it was a trick or not? Wouldn't you feel responsible to get that story out there, or would you keep it quiet and pray in the silence of your bedroom instead of on the street corner?
No, that's a good point. I think from what I've read about the book, I think that they act like, oh, they didn't want this attention, but he wrote the book later.
Right.
He didn't want the attention at the time because it was getting out in the news.
Yeah, says the guy to the news.
Yeah. So, I think this movie in general and the book is, they try to use their child's story to bring hope in other people's lives.
Right, which would probably be considered a good thing. Right?
Yeah, well, it's a false hope. I don't think a false hope's a good thing. It's a hope for heaven. It's a hope that things will be better.
A hope hoax.
Yeah, it's a hope that things will be better in the end.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's I think that people walk away from this movie with a good feeling in their heart. And I think that's like the main message of this is, oh, I can't wait till I get to heaven. I can just...
Well, it sounds to me like heaven's apparently a little bit unorganized, that they're sending little kids back with all this information. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I don't know why this doesn't happen more often.
Sorry. Let's move on. There's one movie that we spelled something wrong, so we're not going to do it. But
Yeah.
is Son of God, is that the one I saw on the news where they were saying that the problem with this movie was Jesus was too sexy?
Yes, I have heard
Okay.
that. Well, I think that when The Passion of the Christ came out, people were saying the same thing about him in that movie.
Right. You're not supposed to have sexy thoughts about Jesus.
Well, I mean, he is half naked up there on a cross.
Well, the cross.
If you're into that
Sam.
stuff, then I can see why.
Sam,
He's good.
He was pretty skinny and that long hair.
Yeah.
I like the idea of sexy Jesus. It's like the
It's a good selling
the
point.
bad. I can't say a bad word. The bad.
Nowhere in the Bible does it
the
say
Noah
that Jesus
being
was not sexy.
super powerful and beating people up and dodging bullets and stuff, which is our next movie.
Oh, yeah. Now, this is a movie we actually did see, Noah, and I'm sorry if you're out there watching.
No, it's not out there watching.
We will be giving spoilers to this movie.
Oh, you were apologizing to the viewers. I
Yeah.
gotcha. Spoilers, though? I think everybody kind of know how it turns out.
They've changed a few things around, but I don't think they changed enough around to, like...
Changed
say that
around.
it's-
And we were going to talk about this movie for a while because we saw it. Right?
Yeah.
But what did they change it around from the story in the Bible, or did they change it around from some sort of like fabricated preconception of what the story
Yeah,
was
it's almost like
supposed to
there's
be?
two stories of Noah out there, and I think that's... There is a lot of controversy over this movie, and I am going to go ahead and say that I did like this movie. I did
movie
enjoy
was
it.
awesome.
It was good, and
I highly recommend
this is
it.
coming from Atheists, that we do recommend seeing Noah.
Even if you're Christian, then just
Yeah, well,
watch
actually,
it through a
Russell Crowe
rose lens.
tried to get an endorsement from the Catholic Church for
Is
this
he
movie.
Catholic?
I'm not sure if he's
Not
Catholic
anymore.
or not, but
Not after making that movie.
yeah, but they would not endorse it. They called it Noah without God, and I have to say I agree with them.
Noah without God?
Yeah, there was not a big push for God in the movie.
Well, no, sure there was.
I mean, you think that was an endorsement for God, that whole movie? Oh, this God likes to wipe off all the people on Earth.
Oh, an endorsement for like a New Testament God.
Well,
No, absolutely
Well,
not.
that's another point I want
But
to make.
neither is the Old Testament an endorsement for that God. Right?
More out of fear.
I mean, we're talking about the Old
you were-
Testament God.
Like you were saying, I think that there's two stories of Noah that people have in their head. There is the happy Noah that you read in a child book, where all the happy animals are gathering up on the ship, and then they land and everyone's happy, instead of they forget that everyone drowned below them.
Including all of the other animals.
yeah, including all the other animals that weren't
Even
the
the
two.
fish. Even the fish drowned.
Yeah, because it would mix salt water with the fish
Just
would die too.
everything.
Well, it baffles me that people out there still believe that the Noah story is historically accurate, and even watching this movie, I had that thought a few times. Like, it's a movie, but like people still believe that something similar to this happened, and I think it's hard. I think the story. It's always been one of the first things that everyone says, all Christians always say everyone has doubts, but I think this is one of those first stories in the Bible that's going to give any rational-minded doubt.
Not the creation story.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
I'm
I'm sorry for being the devil's advocate over here.
I think the
I get what you're saying. One of the
Yeah.
first ones. One of the first ones. We'll just put that whole book together.
Well, I think that's one of the most interesting points of the Noah movie too. One of the best, like, CG example of the beginning of cosmology and evolution is in this movie.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was right straight out of if like a church was making the Cosmos TV show, because it was a person who believes in evolution would watch it with an eye through of evolution, and a person who's Christian would watch it through an eye of creation, and they didn't really force you to go to either side of that. It was really neat. And even though he was saying And then on the second day, it was pretty obvious graphically that eons are passing here.
And plenty of moderate Christians have that view of evolution, that or
that the days written in the Bible
didn't really mean days.
Yeah, not 24 hours.
Yeah,
and living 950 years wasn't actually 950
sense to me
years.
as an argument.
And have 3 kids.
Yeah. But I think that's something that that's something that I think is going to irritate the conservative Christians that watch them. That they actually showed evolution. They showed cell dividing and turning into a fish, and
they had a lot of extinct and made up animals.
I thought that was interesting too.
And transformers, and guns,
almost as like an explanation of a way that some of the animals didn't make it. Like there's a scene where like there's only one of each animal on the boat, and they say that that's the only animal. If it dies, then that won't be in the new world. And like they have this like dinosaur type creature that gets killed, and it's like, oh well, I guess that's not why they're there. Yeah. I kept looking for the unicorns, be like, oh, did they get sick or something?
Yeah, that was like a little firefox scaly. I thought it was like a Pokemon or something.
Yeah,
certainly nothing that that the Smithsonian has on display. Its bones, so definitely made up.
Yeah. Well, the director of this movie is a self-proclaimed atheist, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think that in itself, that the fact, I think that would irritates Christians, just the fact that an atheist is tackling this movie. But I don't have a problem with biblical epic movies.
Well, when they would do movies about Greek mythology, did Greeks get upset that the directors weren't?
I don't think they have mega churches and enough money to throw at senators.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, they're too busy like worshiping Dionysus and getting drunk. I think that's about the only Greek god that's really worshipped anymore.
Yeah, probably the part where you get drunk. I was thinking too today, thinking back on Noah, and realizing that this Old Testament God was really, really into eugenics. And he just wanted to like have like Game of Thrones bloodlines going throughout history. And anytime free will pushed him, and evil always wins because good is dumb. Spaceballs. And the evil or the people he wasn't rooting for would overpopulate. He found a way to wipe them all out. And, if I was the creator, it's definitely put your hand in to kind of play the game. But the whole Old Testament is a series of short stories about the one line of people and how they've been almost losing and then came back at the last second and God came in and helped them wipe out the other bloodline and start them again, and then they'd go for a while and then be losing again, and then he'd do something else to wipe them out or free them this way and that until, even today, the story continues.
Well, it's very tribalism is, it's what Christianity is based on, really. The other movie, when I think of biblical epics, especially this time of the year, the Ten Commandments, which is basically the same type of story you were just saying. This group's starting to lose, and God gives them a little push.
Yeah, it's from that book.
Yeah, that book.
Same book.
The same book.
Old Testament.
Yeah, and I actually really enjoy the Ten Commandments too. Talking about biblical movies.
Classic. They had guns in that movie too, right?
Charlton Heston had to have them.
Oh, never mind. That's where I was.
All
Charlton
times.
Heston.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think he was packing something.
They're under the robe.
They're under his robe.
All right. Well, what time we got?
Yeah.
Woo.
I think that
anybody calling in?
I would like to get a Christian perspective on the Noah movie.
Yeah, I want to talk to somebody before we move on away from the movies. We can always come back.
Yeah, we can always come back, but I would like to get a Christian perspective if anyone has seen it, because as an atheist I liked it, but I would like to see what somebody thinks that actually does believe in the story. And if
no one calls, no one believes in the story. Settling this today.
Like I said, I think the biggest spoiler is how they kind of explained of how the ship was made, because it's one of the most unbelievable facts in
that one guy and his sons could build that ship. Yeah, they had Transformers do it.
Yeah.
Which made a lot of sense because they were so powerful, and they would just strip the trees down.
I thought that was also one of the coolest parts of the movie is that the fact that those were even in there. It gave it more of a fantastical feel to the whole movie in general, which I mean, like, I don't have a problem with the Bible and its stories. It's just the same as, you know, the stories that I read of Greek mythology, and I like those stories too.
Well, if the you know, if the story of Noah was a
I want it to feel
three-part
fantastic.
epic, a lot of the stuff would have
three-part-
got into it, but it was like 3 chapters, 3 pages.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Very short. A lot of the stuff was just skipped over. Just kind of like, dude builds a boat, everything floods.
They did kind of touch on the scene afterwards where Noah gets drunk and passes out in a cave.
Naked.
Yeah.
But he wasn't in a cave in the movie. Which I didn't like them changing that. He should have been in a cave.
It was kind of a cove. It was overhanging rock.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the beach.
I mean, like, another big part...
Did you notice he had built a still? Like, there was actually like a moonshine still.
I think that was like the first thing that he did when he got off the boat.
I would have.
Like, yeah. He's like, I've been on a boat for over 40 days. I need something to drink.
No, see, the 40 days was just the rain. Then they had to wait for it to drain
How,
somewhere into the center of the earth or wherever all that water went.
Well, the Noah story itself is one of the oldest tales in human history. It's as old as at least Gilgamesh, and probably before that, because Gilgamesh is as far back as we know any story to be told.
Gilgamesh is the guy from Smurfs.
Yeah, that one.
Okay. I don't know that story.
Oh.
Gargamel.
Oh, that was Gargamel. My bad.
But of course, any like small civilization back then, that was their world, and if they had a flood, then the whole world is wiped away by.
But we're not talking about any civilization. We're talking about one, right?
Well, I'm saying that a story of a
Oh,
worldwide.
you're saying regionally.
I'm saying the story of a worldwide flood.
A tsunami washing up on shore.
Yeah, it would be
you
seen
would
as
just
the end of the world to that, community, if they don't know what the world is. So.
But you think they wouldn't have rain come? Okay, I mean I got you.
Yeah.
But rain coming for 40 days and 40 nights. It's hard to.
Creationists try to cover this, and it seems like one of the don't forget the incest. There's got to be lots of incest
Well, yeah, that's
in
probably,
this too. That's probably one of
that's
the
probably actually a very real part of it.
Another big thing, like in the movie, they talk about how one of his sons gets Hermione, and he has his wife, and then Ham is left out.
In the Bible, though, it's differently. Everybody's got wives.
Well,
Everybody's having babies. It splits off into 3.
I felt like
cultures.
I felt like Ham is complaining that he's not going to have somebody in the new world, but I felt like just wait, because we're gonna have a lot of incest later.
Mm-hmm.
Just hold on.
Yeah,
Don't
they
worry.
had 2 daughters.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
movie.
Don't worry about it.
They'll grow up.
And let's not even think about the animals all coming down to 2.
Patrick Stewart, the actor, just married a girl who's 35, and he's like 80. So.
Well, people live to be over 100 years in these movies and the biblical tales.
Noah lived to be 950. In the
Yeah.
Bible.
Yeah. And then he probably just spent most of that his life getting drunk in a cave.
Apparently.
Yeah.
And having 3 kids. 3. It's 1 every 300 years.
Anything else you want to say about Noah before moving on?
We're just kind of stalling, waiting for people to call in. But it doesn't look like that.
No,
it's
you
gonna
can't
happen.
trust him.
Did we turn the play button on? Is that going? Are we heading out to the real world here?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to our card.
Okay, so the Atheist Society of Knoxville.
There it is.
If you've been to any of our meetings, I'm sure our leader, Larry, has given you quite a few cards, most likely. This card gets under people's skin a lot more than the other ones. I think some of the other cards are a little more subtle or just promote the groups themselves, but this one has a little bit of bite to it.
Shock value.
Yes. I've never seen faith move a mountain, but I've seen what it can do to skyscrapers.
And then it's a little picture of a plane flying by.
Yeah. I know people that have said that they've almost been beaten up when shown people this card. I think that when it was posted, it got some notoriety on Reddit, and the comments were not too kind against the card. But let's really.
It made it to Reddit.
Yeah.
Like nationally, internationally.
Not on the Atheist page, on the
front page.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think most people were. I think, other than the disdain for the card, most people were just surprised there was an atheist group in Knoxville.
Huh. It is, yeah. Well, last time we were on the show, we mentioned the most Bible-minded city in the U.S.
Oh, I think it's moved on to what it was. Chattanooga is now. Was it Chattanooga? So we've gone down a notch this year.
Cool. Makes sense that it would be traveling south.
I suppose so.
Who came up with this card? It's a kind of a classic, like, shock T-shirt sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, Larry is not credited with the quote.
It's the kind of thing you see in a bumper sticker, right?
Yeah.
And
but I think one of the points is that let's look at the actual quote. I think that it has a good point behind it, and I think that is another reason that people get upset about it, because it is clearly comparing, Christians to terrorists, to an act that Muslims did under faith.
well, I
They
can see
blame
how
it
you
for
would
it.
interpret, not you, but I mean how one
How
would
they
interpret
would?
it. But
Well, do you think that's where the outrage is coming from?
well, I certainly see it as a general religion, organized religion, and fundamentalist extremism sort of statement. But yeah, the move a mountain. Where's that from?
It's a reference to a biblical quote with faith. Anything is possible. You can move mountains.
Move mountains. Right. So.
But in the real world, is exacted by real people. I think that, I think that this is in reference to something that, Muslims did. But Christians have done plenty of terrorist acts themselves, maybe not on such a large scale, but most notably, abortion killings is probably the most common Christian terrorism that is seen. Timothy McVeigh was.
You're going with only recent events, though.
Well, yeah, I think that's easier argument from recent events. If you're going to talk about, like,
Yeah, it's kind of hard to
thousands
point
of
fingers.
wars and the Crusades and Inquisitions, I think even Christians themselves can denounce those acts and just be like, try to brush them off.
When I keep looking over here because that's where the card is on our screen. It's we have seen a plane crash into a skyscraper as one of the most horrific things that certainly has happened in our lifetime, if not like the history of television and such.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think, as far as I know anyway, that faith has actually moved any mountains.
Exactly. No, I think that they've done some like coal mining and that strips some mountains, but other than that, it has nothing to do with faith.
Yeah, but even beyond seeing it, like there's no even a record of mountains. Maybe glaciers can move mountains.
I think the main point here is that it's not the faith itself, it's those that have the faith that make these things happen.
Maybe that's how glaciers did move.
This type of extreme faith, maybe anything is possible with enough of it. With an irrational viewpoint, then they can lead them to violence. Well, there was the Norway killings. That's another one of the Christian extremism acts that happened only a couple of years ago. But even more close to home, I actually looked. When I was trying to look up on Christian terrorists on many websites, and the top 3 most recent big Christian terrorism was the Knoxville Unitarian shooting.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So right here in our home, that has touched us, and right here in our group, as you've probably seen Joe on, right, sitting
I
in
wasn't
this very
going at
spot.
that time, but I was a member, and I never went back.
Yeah.
That's some scary
Well,
stuff.
even when that happened, it scared people away from the Atheist Society that we were doing the show for as well. So I think it is a...
Do you defend this card then?
I am defending this card. Do you want to take the devil's advocate approach?
No, I mean, I think it's definitely shock value, but it's passive.
Oh, I think that's another point, is that atheists are seen as aggressive. Like in the movie we talked about earlier, as God Is Not Dead, the atheists in that movie were portrayed as, a-holes, in your face,
screaming at you.
Not, yeah,
and
screaming at you. God is not real, and you will not believe in Him, type things. And I think, and Christians feel persecuted from that. We
do have a phone call.
We do have a phone call. Hello, welcome to Freethought Forum. Can we get a name or nickname from you?
This is Jeffrick from Southern Ontario, frequent caller.
Hey, Jeffrick, how you doing?
I got to tell you, you guys got to liven this show up a bit. I mean, you come on there. I don't think you're totally prepared because sometimes people don't call in.
Yeah.
Liven it up. Get out there. We're atheists. We want the rest of the world to know it. I was surprised to find out there was an atheist group in Knoxville myself, let alone Eastern Tennessee. I'm more of an aggressive atheist. That's a name I'm seeing on front of your TV screen right now.
Yeah.
I'm very aggressive. Get out there and tell them that's a fairy tale. It's a book of fairy tales. And I really love these Christians who say we're anti-abortion because we're good Christians. Well, the Bible and Jesus Christ himself, we're pro-abortion. All we have to do is read the damn book they keep waving around instead of waving it around, and then find out some amazing things.
Yeah.
Speak to me.
Did you happen to see any of the movies we talked about, or have any?
I haven't got around to seeing them yet, but I've seen other biblical epics. And frankly, if they're pissing off Christians, they must be really good movies.
Noah, at least.
Noah was a good movie. You keep calling it Noah.
Nowhere. That other one, Heaven Calls. I mean, what is it, Kevin Spacey, or who the hell is the star in that movie? He's already doing apologies.
It's Russell Crowe is the star of the movie, and he does.
That's Noah. I was talking about the other movie.
Oh, what movie?
The near-death experience movie.
Oh, that's what is it? Kevin Kline.
Yeah, I don't know who's in it.
Yeah, not such.
I can't see. It's
a
too
big
small.
star.
Who is the gay guy in As Good as It Gets?
Yeah,
that's the same actor.
Yeah.
I thought. I'm not sure if he's a Christian himself, but if he's a gay guy.
No, he said he wasn't, and he didn't believe in any of that stuff, near-death experience, and he's doing apologies because he was in the movie.
He's doing apologies. It must have been a good paycheck then, or at least I hope so.
They're actors. They perform. They pretend to be something they are not.
Yeah, but
for a paycheck.
That's interesting though, because you don't see like Anthony Hopkins apologizing for being a cannibal.
Well, it seems like if he has to
but he did say things
it,
like that. He says, I can't understand where he's coming from, but I pretended I did.
If he's apologizing from it, then it sounds like he doesn't really believe in the message that the movie is putting forward.
Yeah, it's more than just, oh, hey, everybody watch this movie today and get an idea.
These movies are kind of Christian propaganda in a way.
What's the name of it again?
Heaven is for Reals.
Heaven is for real. That's what Christians want to promote anyways.
It was Greg Kinnear.
Forget the evidence, forget reality. Forget your common sense. Heaven is real.
Yeah.
Just take a leap out of reality just to accept the fact that, okay, I can pretend.
That is the main thing they want to believe in the message of this movie. Like I said, I think it tries to push forward some hope for it.
There's also some research material available that explains exactly why people have near-death experiences.
Mm-hmm.
The lack of oxygen in the brain, they see a white light. Well, that's what happens when your brain cells are starved of oxygen.
Yeah, I also I was looking up the story behind the book that was written by this, and I'm not even sure if the child that had this, if he even had a real near-death experience, or if he was just being led on by his parents.
Who wrote the book? The father?
His parents wrote the book.
Okay.
But keep in mind that this is a small child, but he may have been looking at photographs of his grandparents since he was a toddler. He first started moving around looking at things in the house.
Yeah, the first picture that's shown to him, of course, he's going to say, oh, yeah, that was it.
So the parents didn't realize that and said, okay, you can pick out the picture of his grandfather.
I mean, do you think...
Well, he may have been looking at that picture for 5 or 6...
Yeah, he's never seen the picture.
How did he eventually that, hey, that's Grandpa. You wave it in my face, I'm going to say the same thing. It's Grandpa.
Sometimes I have a hard time believing if these people really are, buying what they're selling. It seems like a cash grab almost in the end, especially this tale.
Mm-hmm.
I have a strong feeling that all this Christianity stuff is for a cash grab. Who the heck is preaching Christianity louder than the guy driving in a Cadillac, wearing $3,000 suits, living in a mansion, and getting his kids really good jobs in the ministry?
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Don't you wish your father was a rich preacher?
It sure pays more than being an atheist, that's for sure. Unless, you know,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
a scientist or something, but, you know, we certainly don't make any money by telling people that God's not real compared to people that make money saying that it is.
I even changed the wording on that. I don't never tell people that God is not real, because that's a inference that God might be real. What I say is there's no such thing as a God.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ is the Jesus Christ character from the New Testament, the Old Testament.
It's hard for people to get over that as well.
Put up the pretense, starting out immediately, that this is totally fake, totally phony, unless you can prove it. And I'd really like to hear some real evidence about a God, any God. And what I'm hearing back is, well, I feel in my soul that there is a God. I don't care what you feel. Give me some evidence.
Well, the other movie that we'd mentioned, God Is Not Dead, is trying to put forth some evidence, and they do try to use some apologetics in it. So
is that the one with Catherine Janeway as the narrator?
Is she?
I don't know.
Oh, I just know that the Duck Dynasty is in the movie too, as a way get some
validation.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
No, they hired Katie Mulgrew to do the narration on a documentary. I was wondering if that was the name of it.
Oh,
and she's apologizing for being involved because she doesn't believe any of the nonsense.
I heard about that as well. They didn't explain it to her fully when they tried to get her on the project.
They gave her a script and a paycheck afterwards, and she did the job.
Mm-hmm. Seems
and
like
then,
it's even...
well, she didn't see the film clip. She just read the script.
Seems like it's even harder and harder for these movies to even find people to star in them that are on the same page. You said the person from Heaven is for Real did not really believe in it, and the director behind Noah is a self-proclaimed atheist. So a lot of these stories are being told by atheists themselves. It's definitely not a Passion of the Christ tale, which is a love letter to violence and Christianity. Mm-hmm. Which, to be honest, I actually liked Passion of the Christ. I thought it was an effective movie.
Never seen it.
Yeah. You have any opinion?
Okay. Yeah. Not really. I'm trying to think of one, except that my whole line's beeping. Anyways, no, they want legitimacy. They want to hire the biggest names they can find and pretend they're Christians. There's even a passage in the Bible somewhere that the Jehovah's Witnesses use a lot, I just can't cite it right now, that allows you to lie to non-believers in order to promote the Word of God in Christianity.
Oh, that's awesome.
As long as the means justify it, right?
Yeah, the ends justify the means, and the ends is to make you a good Christian. The Jehovah's Witnesses use that, and they lie to people constantly.
I used to talk to Jehovah's Witnesses often when they came to my place. I met with them for months before they got tired of me.
You weren't even onto their game. You didn't even know they were lying the whole time.
It was a fun experience. I don't turn them away when they come to my door.
Yeah.
I just get rid of them quietly. I don't feel like debating religion at my front door.
Yeah, well,
I find it irritating.
I am on TV doing it, I guess.
In a public forum, I'll go. I mean, I don't go knocking on their doors and debate atheism.
No.
And I find that real irritating. Why don't do it when they show up at my door?
If I get dragged to a church, I will argue it there, though. They usually have to do it.
Invite me to a public forum. I'll argue with anybody. And it finds out over the years that I know the Bible better than the Christians.
Exactly. This might be why you're an atheist.
Oh, yeah. Did you know that Jesus Christ was a homosexual?
Okay.
According to Mark, the Gospel of Mark, chapter 14, verse 43 up to 55.
I think that can be argued with. I've
That's when he's running around with a naked man and a G-string, and he hugs and kisses him, and then takes off his G-string and sends him off into the night.
You know, that just sounds like a good weekend with the boys.
He was having fun in the bushes, playing house. Then he got caught at it, and that's why he was executed.
Well, I think we're going to move on, try to get some more callers. Thanks for calling.
Okay.
Talk
to you later.
Hope to hear from you
Goodbye, guys.
some other week.
Yeah, that went over the top right there at the end. All right. Moving along. I mean, I think we've touched the card, huh?
Huh?
The card?
You want to get back to that?
No, I think we've moved through it.
Well,
no, you had more.
Oh, okay.
Please do.
We're at our halfway point in the show, so let's re-identify our sponsors. We are a show brought to you by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. They have several, the Rationalist Agency have several regular meetings, first and third Sunday of the month, which are usually lectures and lively roundtable discussions. The second Sunday we hold a book club, and the fourth Sunday is usually get together at someone's house called a reflections meeting. It's a potluck. You can check the website, rationalist.org, for details. And let's run our informational ads.
Restaurant. We meet every Tuesday night following the show at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria for happy hour. You'll find our group either inside or on the patio. Look for Richard Dawkins' silver-jacketed book, The God Delusion, standing upright on the table. On Fridays, we meet at Agave Azul or the Beard and Beer Market. But if you plan to preach, proselytize, provoke, or punch, please don't. We all question what we believe at one point in our lives. If this is the time for you, come join us for food, drink, conversation, and fun. If you live in or around the Knoxville area and are questioning your religious beliefs or simply believe in one less God than everyone else, well, you're not alone. The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a fun and friendly group of people just like you that meets twice a week at a bar or restaurant. We meet every Tuesday night following the show at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria for happy hour. You'll find our group either inside or on the patio. Look for Richard Dawkins' silver-jacketed book, The God Delusion, standing upright on the table. On Fridays, we meet at Agave Azul or the Beard and Beer Market. But if you plan to preach, proselytize, provoke, or punch, please don't. We all question what we believe at one point in our lives. If this is the time for you, come join us for food, drink, conversation, and fun.
Nope, and we're back. From where we left off, we were talking about an atheist card that we use for our organization, and
there it is.
Yeah, there are several other lines that we have found on the Friendly Atheist blog that are similar and where it had come from before.
Can you tell me about the Friendly Atheist blog? What that is? Do you know?
Not exactly.
Oh.
Sorry.
That's good.
Evolve. The other fish don't have a leg to stand on. The hard work of one does more than the prayer of millions. Atheism is myth understood. If Jesus loves me, why doesn't he call? That's one of my favorite ones. I like to use that one all the time. I say I love him, but he never says it back. Jesus saves, but smart people invest. And then our line, I've never seen faith move mountains, but I've seen what it can do with skyscrapers. And another quite cheeky one, it's been 2,000 years, he's not coming back, get over it. Mythology is what we call other people's religions. That's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, in general, even if you are religious, other people's religions.
It seems like, well, we don't call Muslims mythology. It seems like it's doubted. Yeah, it seems like it's a timestamp. It's been around for long, and no one's believed in it for a while. All right, we've got another call. Hello, welcome to Freethought Forum. Can we get a name or a nickname?
Hello, my name is Marilyn.
Oh, hey. How you doing?
I'm good.
What do you have for us?
Well, what I think would be more helpful than so much Christian bashing would be more education about what the Bible says and the contradictions of it. And also, I think that atheists as a group tend to be scary to Christians and maybe set a better example.
Scary in what way?
I think the word atheist is scary to Christians.
I think they don't understand us either.
Well, they don't, but
scary as in
you all as a group tend to be a little scary. I mean, what about setting a better example?
Well, that's one of the arguments over this card, is that this card is in your face, and a lot of our atheists themselves argue that it is it's too harsh, and that as atheists we should have more of a soft-handed approach to it. And
Well,
I agree with that, a little yes and a little no, because I think that this sort of punch, as in discussion before we call it the tip of the spear, is necessary, because Christians in the past, they are the dominant group, and they have I mean, like, atheists are scary. Like, atheists have never, tortured Christians for their beliefs in the past, or there's not laws in other countries where if you are one, you're going to be put to death. Like, atheists are the underdog. Sometimes this way of going about things is the only way to get any attention. And then once we get that attention, then we can be soft-handed about it.
Agreed. That's it. That's
Yeah.
exactly for the card.
Yeah, that's my argument for the card.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you want to increase your numbers, and if you feel like the country would run better with fewer Christians and more atheists or people who are secular, then why not get more, you get more
I think
bees with honey than you do by beating them over the head.
For someone to...
think you Huh?
I'm not really trying to turn people away from Christianity by, like, it takes a lot more than beating them over the head or having one or two nice conversations with them for someone to change their mind on these topics. I think a lot of cards like this and a lot of what we see in the group is more of a rallying call to other atheists to join us and come together, because that's another thing that we do not have as a community.
Yeah, it's something you definitely have to
togetherness.
Do in your own mind.
Well, okay. How about more education?
I think you do on this show
From you
pretty
guys.
often, don't you?
Yeah. We do that. We do that plenty, especially on this show. Today's topic was we're talking more about entertainment and our opinions in defense of this card. But in other episodes of the show, we have people that have come from a variety of backgrounds that are more up to the task of citing biblical verses than me, or describing evolution or physics.
You have.
No, I think you both do well when you touch on that. But what I've heard today is a lot of kind of silliness.
Yeah, we're definitely having a fun day today.
Okay.
I wouldn't argue that at all.
I should tune in next time and see if it's a little
Do you know who you're
different.
having on the show next time?
Joe Barnhart and John Clark. If you've tuned in the last couple of weeks, you might have seen them on here, and they definitely had a more serious topic.
Okay.
Yeah, we studied by going to a movie.
To that.
Yeah. We're talking more about pop culture and our opinions based on the spear. Good talking to you. Hope you do call in next week.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
My microphone. That's a good call. I like her.
Here's a comment that was posted about on the Reddit forum about that card. Although distasteful, I kind of agree with the sentiment behind it. It's no worse than the religious groups who post flyers saying wouldn't you like to speak to your dead loved ones again? Although I think atheism is based on intelligence, not deceit and indoctrination, I feel we should stray away from this kind of propaganda. It generally agrees that the atheist community should avoid preaching, so that way I think this is unnecessary. However, I have to admit it is an incredibly powerful message. Unfortunately, it would most likely come across as incendiary to the very people that it intends to reach. I am a theist, and wow, that really hit me hard. I actually had to say wow out loud, is another comment. We've got another call. Welcome to Freethought Forum. Can we get a name or a nickname?
Oh, yeah. Hey, Sam. This is John.
Oh, hey,
on the
John.
show. I like the last caller's comments, of course. I think you know that.
Yeah.
But I want to start off with agreeing with you and saying why that tip of the spear, at least I think it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
It's when confronted with the idea that a faithful mindset could lead to bad things.
Yeah.
Religious people are going to question things. Now, this is where it's good and bad, is because it could be it could backlash on you, right? Because it is an attack. It's very aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And in that sense, it's both necessary, but I think maybe the last caller, I don't know how often she watched the show, but it is something we don't do often, and that's good.
Yeah, and attack and poke fun at. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of those comments, and I think we'd want to say, too, that those sayings we were reading off earlier aren't things that we came up with. Those are more bumper sticker sayings just to show that this card's not alone.
I think.
Right.
Yeah. And that comment he just read was almost along the same lines that she was saying, and the defense at the same time. Like, I recently saw in the front of a churchyard a baby cemetery as an anti-abortion saying, and that's certainly along the same lines. It's using shock value to try to get your message across, to try to get people thinking about something that doesn't necessarily have to be quite as shocking.
I think that's a very good point. Some of the arguments against abortion make people who are pro-choice react in a similar fashion, because some of those arguments, at least the ones where if you can conceive of that as a life, then you have to admit you're killing it. I think that bothers people, and rightly so. But it's also, if you haven't noticed, among our crowd, if someone accuses you of murdering babies when you're aborting, it creates a backlash with us. And so I agree. I think it jars some people's minds, but I agree with the last caller in the sense that it causes us mostly to react in a way that draws a line in the sand, so to speak, between us. And then, well, another thing to think about is that the card itself, I mean, this is, like you said, it was an actual thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And this terrorism does happen. And the variety of religion, Islam, and even, I don't know particularly the specific Islam that the hijackers held to, but it was an aggressive idea of jihad and attack. It was martyrdom.
Yeah.
And in the States, you mentioned, the killing of perhaps an abortion doctor and his bodyguard. I believe that happened once before. And that shooting at the Unitarian Church, I was to understand that was political and not so much religiously motivated, but also an extreme conservative mindset. But here in the States, we don't really make martyrs very easily. We are still free enough and still educated enough to have arguments that even these diehard conservatives are not going to do those types of things most of the time. I mean, so when you show the card, that would be my guess as to why the backlash is bad. Now, if you were to show it in perhaps another country where Islam's the state religion and Shia...
You might be killed for having that card.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you would certainly not fare well.
Yeah.
So
That's certainly an advantage we have here in the United States,
Right.
and a lot of things that we can. I was watching something the other day. They were talking about Monty Python. It was an interview with a couple of the guys from the show, and it was back when the show was still on. And they were saying, I'm sure it was making fun of Jesus or had some sort of parody on that. And they're saying, you would never have done this with Islam. And he was saying, well, absolutely, you're correct. I wouldn't put Muhammad up and make fun of him in this way, but that's part of the advantage we have in our society, where we can have that about ourselves and about our neighbors.
Right.
And it's what
if I could, I know we're coming up on the end of the show. Let me butt last thing in and let you guys take it.
Okay.
Recently Ayan Hirsi Ali was invited to speak at a college, and she's going to speak about some of the hatred in Islam and the immorality. And because of complaints to the school, they then told her she was no longer invited to come. And so that's an example of what happens in America when faith moves a mountain, so to speak. It silences the opposition. So any religious people watching, Christians watching, the card hurts you to read and to see. But another way to think about it is that hang on, I just lost my thought.
Is that comic?
But our types of religious setbacks are not ones that result in death and injury. Typically, they result in terrible misunderstandings.
Exactly.
So
when atheists are extremists, we yell at people on the internet. When Christians are extremists, somebody dies.
Well, and even not so much. I mean, it's
Christians,
still, it's not Islam. It's not
religion.
Crazy over here to that extent that that terrorist attacks happen every day or something. So
not here.
Anyhow, just food for thought, and I'll let you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Another comment that was left on the Reddit post is, I'm an atheist and I live in Knoxville. I thought I was the only one. And that is one of the main reasons that we are even doing this show, is to reach out and tell other people in this area that you are not alone, and that there are like-minded people who believe just as you do, and you may feel trapped by your family, your peers, your co-workers, but if you feel that way, you can come on down to Barley's or join the Rationalists of East Tennessee.
Your co-workers and your peers are still going to have a problem with you.
Yeah, they might even have a problem with you if they find out that you've gone down to atheist meetings. No, we've had people. No. We have plenty of people that
have to stop coming.
No, they have to hide it from.
Nah.
They have to hide it. So when Christians get angry at atheists attacking them in a way on the internet or with a card like this, they don't really understand that we are the minority in this country and we do have to put up with it. It's, the Christians like to feel like they are being persecuted, but I think that we have another call. I guess we can take it really quickly, but we only have a few minutes. Welcome to Freethought Forum. Can you give us a quick question or comment? We are almost at the end of the show.
In support for the card that you guys are talking about,
yes,
I just wanted to say, have you seen the vans that drive around town portraying the picture of Jesus all bloody on the cross?
Oh, yeah.
My kids have to see that. They have to see a man being murdered because they want to spread the word. And for me and my kids, I want to cover their eyes when they see that. That is a shock value. So don't tell me that they don't try to use shock value. I guess we all know they do. But
what I also brought to mind, other vans and buses drive around with picture of aborted fetuses on them, which they're usually real pictures. So I can see that coming.
Clearly, this group here needs a van.
Yeah, we need a van with this card on it. Thank you for calling in. We're down to 20 seconds. Hopefully you call in next week.
Thank you.
All right, we are... hope you enjoyed our show today. You can contact us at 865-215-2288. Leave a voicemail. I'm Sam Geltz.
Joe Johnson.
And we'll see you next week.